The market was very bullish last week, with USD rising a little over 3% to end the week at a little over 1,000 points amid easing concerns about the banking system and collapse and all of that. Will the market continue to be bullish going forward into this week? Well, we don't know yet, but we're going to find that out in this video. We are going to be analyzing the charts and breaking down every asset step by step so that we can have an idea of what is likely going to happen this week and be well prepared for the week coming ahead of us. So without further ado, let's jump right into the charts and do what exactly we're here to do: get updates. So as you can see on my chart right here, I did not take much trades for last week. I only took 2 positions on this particular asset alone. So without wasting your time, I'd like to start my analysis from the weekly time frame such that I have a very clear perspective of what the overall price movement of the market is. So this way I can see that GJ is pretty much bullish. So on this time frame, you can see that GJ is pretty much bullish. If you look from this part of the chart towards this end of the chart, you would see that price has been constantly trending towards the upside and creating lower highs and higher lows as it goes. As you can see over here, and over here, creating higher lows and lower highs as it goes. So moving downwards to the lower time frame to see if it's the same on the daily time frame, we can see that the bias is equally correct on the daily time frame. However, if we zoom in closer, on this time frame, if you look closely well enough, you would see that bears are beginning to step into this market and price is yet to create an higher high ever since this particular high over here. It's been quite choppy looking from this area down to this area. There was pretty much not a lot of things happening here. Now that I have a bit of understanding of what the market is doing, the next thing I want to do now is to start marking up my chart for my zones and then moving forward to the lower time frame to see a lot more clearly what the chart is saying, and then forming my bias as I go along. So for me to do that, the first thing I'm going to mark out on this chart would be this area over here, as it is representing the highest price points in the market up to this very point on this chart. And then I am also going to mark out these areas as well as my lowest points. So I'm going to ignore this area over here for a bit, just for now. Before price would be able to eventually get to this point, right, it has to either break through this area or this area over here. Now the next things I'm going to do is to mark out the immediate zones that I can find on this chart. Now while I was marking out these areas, I began to notice some bit of a bearish pressure stepping into this market, creating higher lows and higher highs around here, as you can see, except that it is yet to create one over here. Right now, if price is able to break above here, then I would be looking to take the retest towards this upside for a buy position. However, with this particular candlestick formation over here, which was the exact candle that ended last week, I am not particularly it is worthy of being noted that I am yet to fully decide if I would be willing to, if I am going to be bullish or bearish on this asset right now. I am still in the early phase of my analysis. I'm yet to put together every single thing and all of my confluences that I need to decide if I am going to be bullish or bearish on an asset. But from the look of things right now, it is looking to me as though this particular asset is going to continue on its bullish momentum, and maybe we would see 172 by the end of the week, or before the end of the week, or even further down the line. Or maybe we would also see price come retest 156 before it continues on its bullish path. I don't know. On this channel, we focus more on flowing with the market, following the market's direction, right? We trade with the momentum. We don't try to trade against momentum or outsmart the market by trying to predict where the market will go through. My trading system is pretty much based on flowing with the market. I let the market lead, I let price action lead, and then I follow, right? So moving on further to the lower time frame, I'm going to be moving to the 4-hour time frame right now, right? So And for this particular time frame, I am going to be taking out all of this right now so that it does not serve as a distraction for me, right? So on the lower time frame, we can pretty much see the bullish momentum a lot more clearly than we could on the daily time frame, right? So we can see this beautiful uptrend forming over here, right? We can see this, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher high, higher low, yet to form a higher high. So now that's the next thing that is worthy of being noted. Now the next thing that I want to check for is for the structures on this particular time frame, such that I know, so that I can anticipate where possible price reversals are going to happen, if at all it is going to happen, or where price may continue to flow in the direction that at which it was flowing before. So now that I'm done marking out my structures, the next thing I want to pay attention to over here would be price action, right? So as you can see, we had this very bearish engulfing bar, right, on the 4-hour time frame now, which for me is very important to pay attention to. Price action on the higher time frame for me are very important, right? We can see how this particular candle, engulfed all of the candles before it, all of this candle over here, and broke below the daily supply area. Right now, this can pretty much indicate an incoming bearish reversal. Now it then means that price may be looking to come retest this area over here around 163 to 163.2 area, right? And if that area doesn't hold, it then means that we can see price continue to nosedive into this area. And if this area also doesn't hold, then we can see price coming to retest the trend line, and maybe from there it is going to reverse and then continue on its way up. However, we do not try to predict the market, we just flow with the market. Moving on to the 1-hour time frame, we can see the bullish momentum a lot more clearly. We can see how price pushed all the way from 165.4 all the way down to 163.7 in just about 4 hours, right? So it further confirms what I said earlier on, that we may see price, coming to retest these lows over here, these lows and this low over here, and even maybe the trend line before it continues on its bull run. Now, however, all of this, we're going to have to wait for price action before we decide what we're going to do. Now, for you to be able to follow up on this update, I strongly recommend that you join the Telegram community in the description below. Now, I am recommending that you join this community because I constantly give live updates in the community on what I am looking at on the chart, what I am constantly doing. As you can see, it's been a lot of wins for us in the community. You can see how, our TPs are constantly getting smacked on EURAUD. We had 60 pips on EURJPY. We had over 45 pips running, and we had over 170 pips on this particular setup in just one day. And over here, 2 trade setups, and we had over 300 pips made on this particular setup. And just to end the week, we had 176 pips move to start our week last week on a Monday. Imagine catching over 176 pips on a Monday morning. That's what the people in my community are constantly enjoying. Live trade updates, free signals, free technical analysis. So I strongly recommend that you join. Looking at EURAUD for this week, I'm going to be starting my analysis from the weekly time frame. And on the weekly time frame, I can see what looks to me like a double bottom over here. And we can also see neckline around here, which was eventually broken by this very massive bearish candle. And then we can see how it was retested over here, and then almost came back to fill up this resistance or supply area around here. Now, you should note that this is the weekly time frame, and I am basically just still explaining what I can see on the chart right now, and I am yet to drop any conclusion whatsoever on what I think is going to happen this week on the chart going forward, right? Looking at this from a technical standpoint, we may see price coming to retest this neckline over here before continue back up to this area around 1.64 on the chart. Now, that's what I see on the daily time frame, or on the weekly time frame I need to see. I'm going to move now to the daily time frame. So on the weekly time frame, we can see a bit of a bullish bias on the weekly time frame, which that is something that I think you should note down already. For me to take any trade at all, I need at least 3 time frames in my favor. That way I know that I am flowing with the market and I am not trying to predict the market or outsmart the market. On the daily time frame, it looks to me as though, you know, the bullish bias is pretty much still the same. We can see how price had this, you know, low point over here, and then it created a higher high compared to this over here, and then it created this lower high, again created another higher high, and then this higher high in turn created this lower high again, and as you can see, it created this, you know, higher high over here, right? So now it basically means that on the daily time frame, price is pretty much bullish as well. If I'm to draw up a trend from here, we can see that price is bullish as well on the daily time frame. Now looking at this, right, we may see it is in my opinion that we may see price coming back to retest this trend line over here, which is as well a further conference to what we saw on the weekly time frame of price coming back to retest this neckline area over here of the double bottom that we saw on the weekly time frame, right? So now, but then before then, there's also something that I would like for you to note down, which is this, you know, area of price action over here, right? Over here it acted as our supply area. As you can see, it sent price running all the way back down to this area, and when price eventually broke above it, it acted as our so judging from all of these things that we can see on our chart, it then points to the fact that before we can see price continue on the journey towards the upside, we may likely see price returning all the way back down to retest this trend line and also the neckline that we spotted on the weekly time frame. The next thing left for us to do right now is to move to the lower time frame so that we can see a lot more clearly what's going on there. So I'm going to switch to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see, you know, that uptrend that we marked out from the daily time frame to, you know, it's still very much correct over here as well. It remains valid, which then further confirms that we may continue to see the bullish momentum on this particular asset. On the weekly time frame, we saw a clear bullish momentum going on the chart. On the daily time frame, we saw the same thing, and moving down to the lower time frame to the 4-hour time frame, I mean, we can see the same thing happening. However, price is constantly however, we can see right now that price is pretty much moving in a range, is pretty much stuck in this range over here. Give me a moment. We can see that price is pretty much stuck in this range over here, right? You know, most times when I see this on the chart, and then based on my experience, it mostly indicates the possible price reversal coming or a trend reversal. Anything can happen at this point, so I pretty much don't trade in the range. I would rather wait for price to break above it, and then I'll take the retest, or price break below it, and then I can take the retest towards the next available structure, to the next available point, right? So on the 4-hour time frame, we don't pretty much have a clear statement. This is what I'll be looking out for. Now I'll be looking for price to break outside of this range and maybe retest it, and then we can see price continue on its way down to this area first. And now if that area doesn't hold, we can then see price come back to break this demand area. We can then see maybe another retest before it continues on its way down here. Right now, if that doesn't happen, it is worthy of being noted that the market is not a one-way direction, right? Anything can pretty much happen, which is why you always have to be prepared for every possible scenario, right? So now if that doesn't happen, the next likely thing that is going to happen is price is going to break up above this area. We may see a retest, and then a retest of that range above that range quite a bit, and then we can see price breach this level and then retest this area, and then we can see price continue on its way to the top. Right now the market is closed, as you already know. It's the weekend, right? All we're doing right now is basically preparing for the week ahead on the chart. So we basically know what we want to do, and then we don't just, jump in and out of the trade. We have to plan ahead and trade our plan. There are specific things that I like to look out for before I go into any trade, whether to buy or to sell. I pretty much look for a solid price action movement, like a rejection and then a confirmation candle, either on the 1 hour time frame, 30 minutes or 15 minutes at the very least, to decide if I am going to, get into a trade or stay away from it. Now, this is one of the numerous advantages of being in the Telegram community, which is linked in the description below. I pretty much always share a live update about most of the trades that I take with my community members, and then we discuss about it. But then the market needs to gather momentum before it can continue on its way up, which is exactly why I am anticipating the sales towards this area or towards this, towards this trend line, before we can then see it continue on its journey to the moon.